voices in the blackest night, spitting tales of emerald light. Myron and Phil with the banter tight, lantern stories taking flight. Heroes clad in emerald light, cosmic battles in the dark of night. Guardians calling from the galactic height, power rings are shining bright. Tune in for the mighty lore, legends that you can't ignore. From Mogo to Sinestro's war, the podcast of Oed gives you more.
Ho, 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 Green Lantern fans. Welcome to episode number 268 of the podcast of OA. I'm your co-host, Myron Rumsey, and Santa Phil, my co-host, is my friend on the other end. I see we're in the holiday spirit tonight.
We are. I'm always in it, man. And I walk around school all day today. Not one person dressed up, but me, because I got different hats and whatever. But no, holiday spirit non-existent in St. Louis.
Well, it is a
But here
little
we are.
early yet. It is a little early.
Got Vader. We're good. We're good. So
Very good. Do any of the do you, I don't know if you deal with little kids, but do any of the little kids look at you as Santa if you're wearing the hat?
yeah, they do. I get called it all the time. Today I heard what is it? The person said, you really I'm really liking the punk rock Santa thing. Punk rock Santa. I don't know why. I mean, it doesn't I don't look punk rock, but
Right, right.
I mean I listen to it, but whatever.
Hey,
I guess
whatever makes people happy, right?
I'll be the new age Santa,
There you go.
hipster Santa. I don't
Hipster,
know. What
hipster Santa. Well, for this episode, we're going to talk about Green Lantern number 29, the team up between Hal and Ollie, hard traveling heroes. And before we get to all that, we do have a little bit of Green Lantern news to talk about. Some news came out about lanterns. Recently, a teaser trailer was shown at an investors meeting behind closed doors, has not been released to the public yet. But some impressions of that trailer have been um, posted online. Now, whether these are accurate or not is a whole nother story, right? We don't always know whether our sources are telling us the truth or whether they're just leaking things for hits and clicks, right? But some of the comments that came out about the trailer supposedly is that in the trailer it's made mention that Hal is not the first person to mentor John, which adds some potential credibility to Alan Scott being in the show and his death being what the death they investigate. Who knows? Again, all conjecture. It's also the impression of Hal is that he's reluctant to lead and reluctant to be involved, which again seems a little out of character. But again, this is a 60-year-old Hal, so who knows what he's thinking of at this point. And there's apparently a reference made to a squirrel Green Lantern, which could be Badge, could be Chip, could be the squirrel from Superman. That was one of the online theories was that that squirrel in the
Mm.
Superman film ends up being Chip. Could be. And then the other information that came out is that the show is not going to air until the end of summer of 2026.
Well, you knew they were going to push it back.
Yeah, yeah.
I knew that was coming. Anytime they started talking about this merger stuff, I was like, well, there's going to be some blowback from that. But I don't think that's what it's because of. I think it's because of Supergirl, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it sounds like they want to pace it to show up after Supergirl for some reason. I'm not sure why it matters.
I
Um,
would venture to guess with Supergirl being based off of King's representation, it'll be cosmic. I'm gonna that there be some lanterns that show up.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that impacts the show's release date, but whatevs, right?
Maybe they're
Uh,
going all in on Supergirl. I mean, they're hedging a lot on it, like they did Superman,
yeah, and
two.
maybe they just want to space it out to keep maybe it's about keeping momentum going in the spacing of it for that reason. Who knows?
Right.
And again, you bring up the merger, not merger, but the sale, the pending sale of Warner Brothers. Who knows how that's all going to play out? There's all kinds of online conjecture, and I take all of it with a huge, giant kryptonite-sized piece of salt because nobody knows. It's all, what can I say
I,
to generate hits and clicks? That's what it comes down
and
to.
not only that, why care? Ain't nothing like you or I can change what's going to happen with that gargantuan weight going. I mean, ball's
Well,
already in motion on that.
right. It seems that a lot of this is behind the whole the return of the Snyderverse thing and so on. And who knows what's going to happen one way or the other and how things will be impacted. Will this impact Lanterns? It surely could. If somebody buys HBO and let's say it's Netflix, maybe the show doesn't appear on HBO Max, maybe it appears on Netflix. Who knows? Somebody might buy the stuff and maybe they don't like what Gunn is doing and they take it as a write-off like they did the Batgirl movie. Who knows?
Here's the thing. They keep playing around like this, and that's all well and good. They can play all they want. I'm going to buy the physical copy, and I don't care where they put it. They can put it here for all I care. I'll just watch the physical copy, and I won't even subscribe to their service. They play this game
Yeah.
with the consumers, man, and it just I don't know. It just doesn't look good, and it's starting to look worse because and then they check up rates, and this is going up $2, and it's like the cable wars, man. It's ridiculous,
It's the
but
20
it
it's
is
the
what it
21st
is.
it's the 21st century cable wars essentially,
I
right?
mean, yeah, it's what I mean. It's getting expensive, regardless.
Yeah. The other thing about the trailer is that apparently there were no effects shots in it, which again, not a surprise, right? Because it wrapped not too long ago. Effects are one of the later things to be done to it. So that's not a surprise at all. Apparently there was no uniforms in the footage they showed. Again, not a terrible surprise. I mean, the running joke is will you actually see them in their uniforms? And there's been commentary from one of the producers on the show or one of the directors saying that it's going to go cosmic eventually. You'll see things happen, and they're trying to balance it out. And I thought it was funny because one of the comments that this person made was that there will be plenty of cosmic action and classic fans won't be disappointed. And I got into it online a little bit. I'm like, well, classic fans won't be disappointed. Yeah, they're already disappointed because it's a 60-year-old Hal Jordan in Sinestro. Uh, I'm not so concerned
Right.
about the cosmic stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
you already rode that. You already rode that train down the line.
but
So
it's still very far out. We're what, and we're in December, and we're talking. We're not going to see this until at least July, August timeframe. You're talking 7 or 8 months down the road. A lot can happen in 8 months, and who knows what we're going to see. Like you said, it's a roller coaster ride, and we're strapped in. We're at the top of the lift hill, and we're getting ready to crest that lift hill, and see where this ride takes us. We'll uh, we'll see where it all goes. Um, anyway, I haven't heard any other Green Lantern news. Have you at all, Phil?
no, I haven't.
Yeah,
I did
if
want to get
it
some more Green Lantern stuff for Christmas this year, but I don't think it's going to happen.
not at this stage of the game. I don't believe so at all. I haven't heard much else. If there's been other stuff out there, it hasn't been anything that's come to mind. The only other thing I did see was I'm not reading DCKO. Are you still reading it?
I haven't read the second one. Far behind on everything. That's why I even asked you what we were reading. You know what? And it's funny because I didn't even read this one. I was like, how did I miss this? And it
Oh,
was really good. That's why
uh,
I was like, all right, man, we're getting on tonight. What are we reading? Because I thought we were all caught up, and then I was like, and you said that, I was like, man, all right, duh.
we were caught up, but um, the DCKO. I don't know if I want to. I don't want to say anything because you haven't read it yet, and I don't want to spoil it for you.
And
But
I don't even care about it, so it doesn't even matter.
okay, so Carol Ferris apparently gets multiple Green Lantern rings, not Green Lantern rings, multiple emotional spectrum rings.
I heard this. I heard the Black Ring was involved too.
That Lex Luthor gets the Black Ring, apparently. I haven't been reading it. I'm not interested in it. It's all not, I don't want to say it's not in continuity, but it's kind of like a little pocket universe, right? It's almost like Marvel Secret Wars, for lack of a better analogy.
It's kind
So
of like they're playing loose and fast with these rings and stuff like that.
yeah,
It's like, okay, I don't see them doing that with the Infinity Stones.
it
Come
seemed to
on.
me, you had to be dead to have a Black Lantern ring, but somehow
That's
Lex
what I
Luthor
thought.
has one. Because if you recall, back in the day, Hal killed himself so that he could get a Black Lantern ring and command Necron.
That's right.
It seemed to me that that was one of the requirements to be a Black Lantern. But
But,
again,
but
like you said, it's fast and loose with continuity these days. Because
yeah,
apparently Carol put on power rings of the other emotional spectrum, and you know where they work like that. Where we saw Kyle go through a journey where he had to learn to master them in order to use them. We've seen other characters get power rings in the past, but not multiple ones all at once and be able to just throw it down with them. But
maybe in this universe, Kyle and get married and they become one with the White Lantern ring.
I'm gonna try not to throw up.
That was dumb. That was even dumb to think about.
It's one of the worst decisions in Green Lantern comics ever.
I never said that.
Uh, Anyway, let's jump into Green Lantern number 29. This is
Uh,
the team up of Hal and Ollie. When we last left this situation, Ollie had apparently put a call in to Justice League for backup. Hal takes the call and goes, leaves Carol behind. And this issue picks up with Ollie in a situation with some gunmen. It looks like they've got laser sights. He's fighting them. He kind of goes down a little bit and is rescued by Hal. The interplay between Hal and Ollie is a lot of fun in this issue.
it is. I mean, they're. I mean, and it doesn't matter the writer because I think because even Adams nailed it well here too. You know, and a lot of writers seem to get their interactions done really well.
Yeah, the banter between the two is really a lot of fun. I
Mhm.
the only thing the first thing that jumped in my mind is why did Ali call for backup? It's just four guys. But apparently he's working on a mission of some sort connected to Darkseid, connected to DCKO. So it has more bearing if you're following the story, and perhaps it makes more sense as to why he would call for backup. I'm like, Green Arrow can't take down four guys? What are we talking about here? But at any rate, they're there, and a lot of great interplay, a lot of great banter between the two. You see them afterwards sharing a drink at the bar. They get into a whole tussle, and it's a very Legolas Gimli competition who can take down more people with no powers. Again, a lot of fun. This was really a fun one-off issue. And you don't have Hal talking to Ollie about why he's out doing what he's doing, and discussion about the book a little bit. Ollie knows Hal well enough to know that there's something bothering him, and he pulls it out, which is good. And that's what good friends do. They can read things in their friends' expressions. They know something's wrong when something's
Mhm.
wrong.
Right.
So I thought that was a good
I
test.
will say on a side note to the Omega construction, I guess that's a little worm they're putting it there for what's going on in the background in the DC universe as a whole, quote
Yeah.
unquote. Right. So, I got a theory on that. I'm imagining that at some point Darkseid's he's gonna try to terraform Earth. It's kind of what I was thinking he's going for here. That's why
Yeah,
he's kind of remaining in the.
it could very well be. It kind of implies some of that kind of stuff. I love the banter about robots too. I just this was just a really a fun issue. Uh,
I'm
it-
telling Red Tornado.
yeah. I just a lot of fun stuff. This is really a lightweight issue, and I guess after doing some bigger stories and stuff, you kind of need that palate cleanser. But it's good to see the two of these characters together. I still think I like Hal and Barry better than Hal and Ollie, but I enjoy any opportunity to get any of these partnerships together.
Well, I mean, it's funny because I mean, you got to think about it. The only person that Hal doesn't really get along with is Batman. But I mean, a lot can be said about that because Batman didn't get along with anyone. There you go.
True, true. Well, he thought very highly of Jessica and Simon Baz. Um, Cue the eye roll.
You're
Because to me, that
right.
was just a reason to try, just a way to try to put them over. Is that Batman approves of
Oh,
this? And this be good. I love the giant bow and arrow.
right. Yeah, the big one.
Yeah. Again, not the first time it's been done, but it's always fun to see. Did you catch the really
But it
odd
was neat
moment?
how it was. Say again.
Did you catch the really odd artwork when the Justice League shows up?
Hold on.
Hal and Ollie are there and it's score one for the good guys, and the Justice League shows up to try to clean things up, and who's there but Carol Ferris? Star Sapphire shows up and doesn't come over and talk to Hal. There's no interchange between them at all. I think it's an
Yeah,
art
you're kind
flub.
of right.
Somebody said something about how it looked like it was a digital background used. It was a background used in another Justice League comic, Justice League Unlimited, and that they forgot to remove the layers with Martian Manhunter and Star Sapphire because the positioning is rather odd as well. That it's just
Well, not
an
only
art
that,
mistake.
but Blue Beetle is in the same kind of position as Martian Manhunter is.
Yeah, they kind of just disappear. So it looks like it's just an art mistake, but it didn't get caught by anybody. So it looks like it's an odd situation of Hal leaves Carol and she's all concerned about him and stuff, and she shows up and there's no conversation between them. A little odd, but it's got to be a mistake, right? And then Hal's going to be off to Gotham City to talk to Batman. It's going to be your favorite issue.
You know, I don't mind. Like, I'm not trying to rail hard, and I'm not going to sit here and get on my soapbox about that guy, but I don't care that he shows up like and interacts in certain another character's, title or whatnot. But I mean, why? Why does he have to always? I mean, it seems like that's always their default character to use for whatever reason. And okay, I know Batman fans will argue against this, and he's really smart, and I get it. I'm not trying to diminish his character. I'm just saying he doesn't need to be used all the time. But apparently he does, because apparently he's the only thing that sells anymore.
Batman and Harley Quinn are the two most overused characters in the DC universe, right?
I mean,
You get tired of seeing them show up.
if
Oh,
you if you put your heart and soul into something else for a change, you think it, but you might actually get some fans going the other direction. Anyway,
yeah, yeah.
I'm done. That's all. I'm done.
I frankly, it would have been more interesting to me if Mr. Terrific had been the one that he goes and talks to unravel the puzzle.
Yeah, I mean,
But given that there's a history between Bruce and Hal, it gives Adams a chance to play off of that. Just like he had a lot of fun with this issue, I think, writing that dynamic. What's it going to be like with the dynamic between Hal and Bruce? Maybe they'll bury the hatchet.
well, I at least hope it's a good interchange. That's all I'm hoping
Yeah,
for.
I hope
Yeah.
so. I hope so for your sake. It'll be your most anticipated comic of 2025.
What's it look like? Have you seen the cover issue for it?
No, no, I haven't. Actually, it'll be 2026. It'll be the first comic of 2026. It'll be kicking off the new year.
I wonder if that'll be 30, right?
Yeah,
I guess there isn't any cover art for it. Too early. Oh, wait a minute. There it is. Yep,
yeah.
him and Batman on the cover.
I think that issue I think actually does come out in December, so it'll be the way to end the end of the year.
Awesome. That's great. That's wonderful.
No sarcasm.
That's
All
all
right.
right. I'm not going to be judgmental. I'm still going to, you know, he's Batman. Everybody knows how this whole entire podcast has to know how I feel about that character.
Yeah.
But I'm going to respect y'all, because you like him, and more power to you. It's like somebody likes tea, somebody likes hot chocolate. It is what it's what it is. But I
It
will
is.
say, in defense of my marriage, my wife really, really likes Batman. So, That's about as much support as I can give the fan community.
And you married her anyway. That's love right
Yeah.
there.
That'd be the other way around. She married me anyway.
And we all know it's good natured ribbing about Batman.
It is. I don't
But
care. Don't
but
like it.
I do agree. It's it's the saturation of a character, and then the character overstays their welcome. And Batman and Harley Quinn are those two characters for a lot of people, myself included, and you included. Although I don't know how you feel about Harley Quinn, but I feel like she's run her course.
I think I don't even think there's a Batman character I care about in his repertoire. I don't I'm trying to think. Maybe some villains. I don't even like the Joker. I think the Joker's overdone too.
I do think Batman has the best rogues gallery.
Oh yeah, that's without a doubt. And the Flash has a second. I mean, the Flash is a good rogue, but I will say Batman's rogues got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. He's got some haters.
Well, we're gonna have more Batman conversation when we do our listener feedback, and we'll be back in a couple minutes to talk about what you guys have to say.
In brightest day or blackest night, there's only one place to listen to the best in Green Lantern. That's the podcast of Oa.
Our first message is from Maud, who is concerned about how Green Lantern Hal Jordan is being treated. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1.
Dear Myron, I hope this message finds you well. I'm a Green Lantern fan from China, and I've been following the blog of Oa for years. Your dedication to Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern mythos has been a huge inspiration. Thank you for keeping that flame alive. Lately, I've been deeply frustrated with how Hal has been treated in the current comic landscape. Since Rebirth, especially with Green Lantern, Beware My Power, his courage, willpower, and humanity have been consistently undermined. Upcoming media seems to continue this trend, using him mainly to elevate politically favored characters at the expense of his own story. Watching the hero I admire being systematically reduced in this way has been disheartening. I created a video telling how Hal has been marginalized since Rebirth. It was well received. Hal is very popular in China, and many fans strongly resonate with his character. If you're interested, I would be happy to share the video. It is narrated in Chinese, but I hope it can still convey Hal's story effectively. Many fans have voiced their concerns, yet little has changed. It reminds me of the late 1990s, when Heat formed out of love and respect for Hal. I've been thinking, maybe it's time for a Heat 2.0, a modern, constructive way to celebrate Hal and protect his legacy. I'm not a native English speaker, and I'm not part of any Green Lantern community yet, so it feels difficult to start anything alone. But I still want to try. I truly believe Hal deserves to be remembered and represented with the dignity he once had. I'd be deeply grateful for your thoughts or advice. As someone who lived through the first Heat movement and continues to support the Lantern Corps, what do you think fans today can realistically do? Thank you again for everything you've done to keep the spirit of Green Lantern alive. Your work continues to inspire people far beyond the United States. With respect and admiration.
Maud, thanks so much for this email. I'm going to respond to you in email form as well, but I wanted to wait to respond in email after we did the stuff on the show. I'm not sure if you actually watched the show or not. Like I said, this was directed to me in an email, and I know that Maud, according to the comments, has been following the blog of Oa for quite a while. I really do relate to what you're saying is I feel like Hal is taking a back seat. And, as we've continued to flood the lore with more Earth Lanterns, there's less room for people. And without sounding politically incorrect, there's a whole whenever there seems to be a reason to use characters to make sure that we're showing diversity, Hal is the easy character to pluck off and plug in somebody else. And I feel that frustration. It's interesting because Hal is canonically Jewish, so you're kind of defeating the purpose by yanking him off, even though his skin color is white. But I certainly do get that frustration. And Green Lantern Beware My Power is the worst depiction of Green Lantern I think I've ever seen in animated or live action. I'd rather watch the Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds over Beware My Power any day. As for Heat 2.0, I don't think in this day and age that would fly over well. I mean, you've got a number of people who still they misquote or missay things about Heat. Certainly, it was a strong group, and I was a part of that group. Uh, Not during its Hal's Emerald attack team years, but during the time when it was Hal's Emerald advancement team. And I think there's so much bad energy tied to that name. I would never call it anything like that. And I don't think that the clamor is the same as it was then. Back then you had Hal done dirty and people were rightly upset about it. This is kind of just a different kind of, but similar marginalization of the character. And I don't know how to combat that other than to keep talking about why Hal is the icon of the franchise. I mean, this whole universe, this whole thing is built on his shoulders. And certainly not every great story features Hal, but the vast majority of them do. It's hard to see a character that's that important to the history of the DC universe pushed aside for the sake of what looks like making a quota or trying to be diverse. You can do that in other ways, and there's nothing wrong with having more than one Green Lantern show up at a time. I mean, look at the Lantern show where it's a case of, well, they're treating Green Lantern like Highlander, and there's only going to be one, and it's going to be John. Why we have to age up Hal in order to prop up John is beyond me. Why can't they both be peers and be of equal footing? Why can't they be equals? I think in this day and age, I think that's more important to show that than anything else because there is so much cultural strife. It'd be great to see two people getting along for a change.
Well, in the second of what you say there, a lot of your buddy systems work that way.
Yes.
True Detective series works that way. Lethal Weapon worked that
Yeah.
way. And the list goes on, where
Sure.
you had a buddy team 48 hours. I mean, and those different interactions from those characters, and I'm not sure if this guy's familiar with it or not, but if you watch them, they're two very different characters,
Hmm.
and they work well together, even though you wouldn't think they would, but they do. I mean, Green Lantern doesn't strike me that way. When I think of Hal Jordan, when I think of John Stewart, I think of two characters that could easily work together as a dynamic duo, kind of speak. But no writer has tackled that.
Sure.
No writer has bothered to come at that approach.
Yeah. Why do they need to compete with each other when they can complement each other? Right. So I
Right.
certainly get that. And
Exactly.
Maud brings up a very good point about how Hal is very popular outside of the United States. When you leave the borders of our country, most of the places you go, you don't see much with Jon Stewart. Now you're starting to see some because I think the Justice League cartoon is getting airplay in different parts of the world now. But still, Hal is by and large, from a worldly perspective, considered the Green Lantern, not just a Green Lantern, whereas everybody else is considered a Green Lantern. So I certainly get the frustration, and I feel that way. The other thing I do want to talk a little bit about the blog of Oa because since February when I had the stroke, I have not written much. Part of it has been getting my body back and where do I put my energy. So I have not been putting it into writing. The other thing is I took a really long, hard look at the traffic patterns and unless I'm doing something special like a history of the Green Lantern or some of those bigger articles, I don't get that much traffic, and other people go other places for comic book reviews. So, the amount of time it would take for me to read and write a review and do the graphics and do all that stuff for very little response or reading, I have to really kind of pick and choose. And there's a good chance that the blog of OA itself won't be around in 5 years, just because it's more work for little payoff. Whereas I could do YouTube and do video commentary and probably reach a bigger audience. So I haven't decided
Well,
what I'm going to do.
and that's why I've never done reviewing because, well, I mean, for multiple reasons, but first and foremost is everybody does them, right? I mean,
Hmm.
there are a dime a dozen. Now I'll do a personal review, like if I have like my Goodreads app or something like that, or if I'm responding to something, but more often than not, I don't even read a review. It's like a movie. I don't
Right.
even read reviews of movies. I don't care because I
Right.
don't need the person's perception of what he has watched or written, or they have watched or written, to taint what I'm going in to see.
Right.
And that's
Well,
what happens a lot with me.
and those kind of reviews don't take long to do. And what I've
No,
always done, I think what made my reviews stand out was that I didn't just comment about the issue, but I also provided history and notes and how does this all
and you
tie into
always
the bigger
do.
picture. And that's
Right.
the value add. But the downside is that takes a lot of time. It really does.
Yeah.
And maybe once I retire next year and I've got more time on my hands, I might go back and do some of that stuff. But I also look at the fact that I have to pay to host that site, and that's money out of my pocket. And I'm going to be going eventually to a fixed income situation. Maybe I can't afford to do it. Maybe I do a Patreon. I really don't know what the future holds. I have to think about how much more can I give, and how do I make it as effective and time efficient for myself and make it of value to the audience. And I'm finding the diminishing returns on reviews. During the Jeff Johns era, I think it was different because I spent a lot of time looking at where's this going or what little hints am I picking up on. There aren't Robert Venditti had some of that stuff too, but Johns was really good about putting just little nuggets in
Mhm.
that might mean something. And so it
I
gave
haven't
you a lot
seen a
of
lot of that lately.
yeah. So there was lots of reasons to speculate, and I would spend a lot of my time thinking about where this be going, where does this fit into the Green Lantern lore in the larger scheme of things. But as we've come to see, that stuff doesn't seem to matter anymore. Continuity gets thrown out the window. So does it matter to go back and do all that stuff? Or I think the last time I really put that kind of energy into things was during the Grant Morrison run, where when characters would show up that were obscure characters, I'd go out and do the research to find out where did those characters appear, who is this character, provide some background and add that extra value add, which I
Mm.
think made my review set aside and stand out from some of the other reviews. But at the end of the day, if anybody's looking at reviews, they're just looking for that numerical score. They don't really care. Some of the review sites, they do a paragraph per book. Well, I can do that
Right.
in 10 minutes.
Right.
That doesn't add any value. So to me, it's not worth doing. But if doing the hard work doesn't generate the traffic, is that worth doing? Is it better off for me to do things like we're doing here and do more YouTube content about other things than do it in this way? I'm not sure. YouTube doesn't cost me anything to host. It's more time consuming to produce because you've got to do video editing and whatnot, but still that will live longer. I look at it this way too. At some point, I'm not going to be here anymore. And the website will die because I won't be here, but YouTube will continue on whether I'm here or not. So my content would live longer than I do if I'm doing it on YouTube, which, I mean, YouTube could fold and go under and who knows what, it'll all be gone someday. Everything is gone someday. But if I hate to use the word legacy, but if I leave behind something, if my legacy is when I'm gone, some content that lives on, it's not going to be the blog of OA anymore because it just isn't.
It'll be-
It'll be the
But at least
podcast.
it'll
It'll be
be,
the YouTube.
at least it'll be digital content. What people know who, the blog of Ori, you write review after review after review, see a picture of, yeah, that's great. Doesn't give you a good perception of who that person was or is or what they contributed,
Right.
right?
Right.
Whereas then when they come across a video of these two these two guys here, right? And they're like, oh, look at these two interesting persons.
Uh,
What is that? What is that guy wearing?
I
You
don't know
know?
about interesting, but um,
What I'm
but
saying is, I mean, when you leave behind something, it's going to be a digital footprint. Blog will
right.
be there. It'll just be, like you said, it'll just be a dead site. It'll eventually probably it'll be a forum for whatever that,
Yeah, it'll be a 404 era, and the only place you'll find it is in Internet Archives.
yeah.
And I look at people that I looked up to when I was younger. They had websites, and they're long gone, and their websites are gone. You can find it on the Internet Archives, but if you didn't know it existed, how would you ever find it? At least on YouTube, you might search for
Yeah.
Green Lantern and find a video. So I kind of think that's the future, which is ironic because I started this all as the blog of oh, that's the handle I use. But if the blog goes away, what is it? Yeah, I don't know. It remains to be seen. I mean, this show I think will exist long after the after the blog is gone. But I haven't decided anything yet. But it's kind of the way where my head's at right now. But
And it's
time
your
will tell.
baby, so it's your baby, so you got to decide how you want it to grow up.
Yeah, and I don't know as if I would hand it off to anybody. I had at one point a person who wanted to write for the blog of OA, and I created them an account, and they never produced any material. And I hesitate to give it to someone because they could take it in a different direction that's not true to how I wanted it to be in the first place, and then it's changing my vision. That might sound controlling, but years ago I ran a Star Trek fan club. I was really big into Star Trek fandom, and I ran a Star Trek club, and it won some awards on the national and international level for some of the things I was doing. And I got to a point where I got to be work, and my son was born, and I wanted to put my energy into raising my child, and so I had to walk away from it. And there was really nobody to step up and take it and continue that my original vision on. So I dismantled it because there
That's
really
true.
wasn't anybody there. It was hard to do it for a long time. And I feel the same way about the blog of OA. For so long, it was part of my identity. So when it went away, who
Yeah.
are you at that point, right? I
Right.
went through that at that point. And I'm sure I will feel the same way when this is gone. But I'm also at a different stage in my life where I have to just think about my own future as a human being. And I think I've got a lot of energy in me that can do things, especially once I'm not working 40 hours a week, that I might put out a lot more content than I've ever put out. It remains to be seen. But
Hey, we're both retired. We can record all the time.
that's right. That's right. People will get sick of us if they're not already sick of us. But I do really appreciate your feedback. And I think we've interacted on social media before, Maud. And again, I don't know if you actually watch the show because you're not a native English speaker. I don't know if you understand the language enough to listen to this. And I certainly don't do any translating to other languages. So I will respond in an email. But I just don't know. I just don't know how a constructive way that we would do anything like a Heat 2.0, other than continuing to promote the mythos as a whole and stressing how important Hal is to it. For me, the people in charge, the only thing they understand is money. Part of the reason why Heat 2.0 was effective was the number of people who walked away from that franchise. You had an insurgence of new readers when Kyle took over, and you lost some readers, and you had some people that stuck around either way. In the long haul, though, the numbers went down, and that's what led to change. If people didn't watch Lanterns, then it won't go to a second season. People will say, well, then that means you're not a Green Lantern fan. You're just a Hal fan. Well, I'm sorry, but Hal is Green Lantern. And I'm not so starved for content that I'm going to take shitty content, which if in my opinion, that's what it's going to be. Uh, I'm not willing to accept that just to get something with a power ring on it. I'm not that desperate. Uh,
Well,
so
I mean, when you say, well, you're a Green Lantern fan, you're a Hal Jordan fan, but the 2011 movie was a piece of crap. I mean, I could, we can sit here and we could dump all over that movie because it was, for all kinds of reasons, and it's okay to say that. We still watched it,
Sure, we still
like
watched it.
it.
I still like it better than any of the Thor movies. Still like it better than some of the other stuff that's come out since then. I don't think it's as bad as Ryan Reynolds wants you to think it is, or
Right,
that some websites, people are like, it's the worst comic book movie ever. Then you obviously haven't watched a lot of comic book movies because there's a lot worse movies out
right,
there than that. But it was certainly disappointing. It didn't live up to its potential. I think that's for me. It was more disappointment than anything else. Um, I wanted to love it. I liked it at the time, but it wasn't, for me, it was just seeing your character on screen. You can overlook a lot of the flaws initially.
right.
But
And usually you do when you watch it for the first time because you glaze over everything because you're starstruck.
well, there's that whole new movie rush, right? Everybody's high on a movie when they first see it because you just had this experience. Unless it was absolutely terrible and you couldn't sit through the whole thing, you still leave it thinking of it higher than what you will later on once you've digested it all.
I
There's a,
tested that theory with the Superman movie,
Mhm.
how I felt the first time I saw it, and usually if I see it a number of times afterwards, I usually gauge on how if I change.
Hmm.
Mm, hasn't changed. I still feel the same about that movie. It's still prime to me. It still was the movie for me. So that's how I know it hit all the notes for me. I know we differ on that opinion,
Sure,
but
sure, but
much the same with anything else. So, and I'm sure Batman fans feel the same way, and I'm sure
absolutely.
Snyderverse fans feel the same way.
I remember when the Michael Keaton Batman movie came out, I was one of the people who was very for Michael Keaton in that role. And Batman hype was really at an all-time high in 1989 when that movie
hmm
came out. I mean, it was everywhere. Merchandise was everywhere, and I was on that train. But then after I sat back and thought about it for a while, I was like, well, wait a minute. Batman intentionally killed a guy by throwing him down the bell tower, and he's got guns in the Batmobile. Would Batman really do that? It wasn't really as true to the character as we all wanted it to be. But we were so glazed over by how successful it was that we looked past it, you know, and you compromise your principles in some respect. And I think in some ways, people are so desperate to see Green Lantern content, they're not willing to look at it with a critical eye. The number of people who have said, well, just let him cook, you wait and see, judge it when it comes out. I don't need to see it when it comes out to know what I think about it. The same way, people were like, well, people were wrong about Keaton. So, what do comic book fans know? And I'm like, well, maybe they were wrong about Keaton, but they were certainly right about Jack Black as Green Lantern. We were going to get that. And before it got very far in development, that story had leaked out. Fans said, no, 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 that isn't going to work. And so they didn't make the project.
Well, and it's also worth noting when somebody says, well, nobody liked Keaton at first. That's a different perception, right? Because the idea of Keaton as Batman didn't have anything to do with the dude's age at that time, and had everything to do with the fact that he wasn't the actor that nobody would have thought would have fit that role,
Yeah,
right?
they saw him as a comedic actor. They saw him from Mr.
Right.
Mom,
You
and
have a different problem with the Green Lantern franchise and the
Mhm.
Lantern series coming out. It has nothing to do with the actor. Yeah, the actor you could perfectly be fine with
Oh
if
yeah,
the actor was in a role that was designed for what you think he should be, not the Hal Jordan role that you want to have happen.
correct.
And that's the best way to put it, right?
Yeah,
So, I mean, but
I have no problem with Kyle Chandler as an actor,
right,
just not for this character in this
right.
stage of life. It's more the creative decision making, not the casting, that I have a problem with.
I think he's a good fit for a Hal Jordan character, but I think he would have been a good fit for a Hal Jordan character back when he played in Peter Jackson's King Kong when he was in that movie or whatever it was, the
He was in
short.
Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Yeah, that's what it
Yeah,
was. Back a while ago, but
yeah, that was a while ago. I feel the same way about Tom Cruise casting. Everybody's like, well, Tom Cruise is the perfect Hal Jordan.
Mhm.
He would have been back in the 80s. But now I don't want to see that. People are like, well, Hal is basically a ripoff of Maverick. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. No, no, no. Maverick is basically a ripoff of Hal Jordan. Which one came first? Uh,
I mean,
but
you can't nail perfect casting until it happens, right? I mean,
yeah,
Robert Downey Jr. is a prime example. I mean, nobody in their right mind before that came out was like, that's perfect. He's going to be perfect for that role. He came out, he nailed that role. Now nobody only knows him as that role, and nobody else can match that role. That's perfect casting because it happened and it exists. But that's like the guy who's playing John Stewart. I don't have any clue how this actor. I furthermore don't have a big development of John Stewart in general because I don't really follow him that well, other than War Journal. Is cool and Mosaic and stuff. I don't have enough of a perception of John Stewart to know how this guy's going to do as him portraying him. So that one doesn't matter to me because I'm going to go into it with open eyes. Plus, it's going to be the first time we see this guy on screen. But perfect casting is usually you don't know what you're going to get, man. It
right,
just
right.
sometimes it doesn't work. You can say visually, yeah, that person looks perfect. They get in there and they start putting on the the narrative, and you're like, whoa, no,
He looks great. The actor looks great until they utter their first line of dialogue. And I was like, oh hell.
right,
Uh, I don't think that's the case with the John Stewart cast. I think he's perfectly well cast for the role.
right. I think
I
he's going to be good, but
I think he's going to be fine. I don't know. I have not watched anything he's been in, so I can't judge his acting. Does he look the role? Sure, he looks the role. But like you said, it's a dime a dozen when finding people that physically look like a character is one thing, but can they inhabit the character? Can they become the character? That's a whole nother thing. And I think with John, I think you've got the issue of, well, what is the character? Is it the architect? Is it the Marine? Is it the Justice League animated version of John Stewart? Is it an amalgamation of all of them? I think there's room with John's character because there's not enough defined that you can define him how you want to define him, which is also a risk because there are people who are huge fans of John Stewart and they want to see their version of John. And how that's going to parse out remains to be seen.
If I were a betting person and I was the one producing this content, I would go into it thinking, I would want my John kind of based off the animated series. Uh, More so, I'd have I'd have a level of John. That would be that would be like the top part. Okay, I want him based off the animated series, but I'd also want him leveled off the stuff in the comic books as well, to add
Yeah.
depth to the character, because I think that's where your target phase is at, is the animated series fan group. I think that's where I think that's where the largest,
Yeah, I think there are more John Stewart animated fans than there are John Stewart comic book
right.
fans.
And to double down on that, go up and ask any number of them, 9 out of 10, and they're not going to heard of Mosaic, right? What? What's that?
Yeah,
I never read
right.
that, right?
And that'll never
That's
get
a really good
reprinted.
book, right?
Yeah, it'll never get reprinted. So, it is what it is when it comes to that. I
Sure.
I go back to, and not to beat a dead horse once again, but I'm going to beat the dead horse. Um, we had talked about the buddy cop thing, and I've been saying for a long time now, I would do it like Lethal Weapon, but not the age dynamic. I would have Hal being the Murtaugh character. I think Murtaugh. I can't remember, keep the two of them together, but he would be the Mel Gibson
Rig-
character.
Riggs and
But
Murtaugh.
yeah, which is which?
Riggs is Mel Gibson.
Okay, okay.
Murtaugh is Danny Glover.
So Hal would be like Riggs, but he's a little more. He's the veteran of a few years. John is more the Murtaugh character in terms of not the age, obviously, but the seriousness about the role. And that's how I would play it off of each other. Is the friction comes not from the age thing. The friction comes from Hal's the more vet guy, not not a 20 plus year vet guy. I'm talking like maybe 5 years wearing the ring, or 2 or 3 years wearing the ring. But he's still Hal, and he's the one that's being taught to. He's got to do something with John, and John takes this very seriously. And Hal does Hal, and that's where their friction comes from. Is like, how is this guy my mentor kind of thing when he doesn't take this seriously, and that's the play off of each other. That's how I would play it. I would also have played it that they meet before John is ever turned into a Green Lantern. They meet in a military environment, maybe at a military bar. They get into a scuffle, so there's already a tension between them because they hate each other because they get into a bar fight. But that's what I would do. But that's just me. Anyway, Maud, I think we completely take your email and went off on a whole nother direction. But I do appreciate your support over the years, and I thank you for the kind words about what I've been doing, and it validates for me that what I'm doing is the right thing for what I believe in. All right, Power Ring, why don't you give us the next message?
The next message is from Daniel, who has some comments on the Starbreaker story arc. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1.
Hey guys, long-time listener, first-time commenter. I wasn't super thrilled with how they seemingly rushed to wrap up this latest saga with Starbreaker and his core, but it still was very enjoyable. I feel like the Lantern universe may be on the upswing, especially with this volume that started with Jeremy Adams. I really hope the Lanterns show turns out better than we've been led to believe. I'm trying to peer too much into the gossip and try to keep myself hopeful that this will turn out for the better. I really enjoy your show. Thank you for all the Lantern news over the years. Keep up the fantastic work.
Hey, Daniel. So listen, I would have liked the Starbreaker saga to go out some more. However, I don't know if it had the steam to do it. It kind of felt it it didn't come off as a big event to me. It just kind of come off as kind of like one of those an event that's going to lead to something else event, like a precursor to it. Kind of like the first Guardians of the Galaxy, and then it gets worse and worse. However, I did enjoy the series. I do like what Adams is doing with the character. I've been very happy since issue one. Looking back, I think he's written him well, and I think he's done him good justice. Um, I'm not too critical. I'm not as critical as Myron is. I think there's areas that he has left, untouched that should get some light, but I mean, only time will tell, and I don't know how much longer he's got to do with this character. I don't know how many issues is he doing this for. Do you know, Myron?
We don't know. We don't know. And I have tried to reach out to him to get him back on the show, but I happen to notice today that he hasn't posted anything on Twitter since the beginning of October. So I'm wondering if he's kind of left Twitter, just left his account open. So I've got to find another avenue to reach out to him because I know he wanted to be in the show.
All right.
But
I
yeah,
can reach
no,
out to Tim again too.
yeah. I mean, and Daniel's criticism or comment about the rushed feeling of this, I think that sums up with a lot of people there. If there's displeasure with the Adams run, it's in that some things are rushed and you don't get the resonance of the importance of things. And the story
Mhm.
could be much more epic if it was given a little more room to breathe, or there were things that you see happen that really matter. We're going to get into a comment here a little while later about Sinestro becoming a Yellow Lantern again, and the return of the Indigo tribe. And those are two areas in particular when we get to that comment that we'll expound upon. But those are two really good examples of things which probably should have had bigger moments, and they didn't get any moments. Um, that I think would have made the story feel more epic. But I think some things get skipped over to get to the finish line, and that it's to me it's a decompress the storytelling a little bit more than what it is, so it gets us a chance to breathe and you get a chance to see how important it is, or you build up more character moments. We still haven't gotten a moment between Hal and Aya, which just kind of like blows my mind that there has been no conversation, no dialogue between those two characters now that Aya is in the comics. But
I'd have to
uh,
say I guess my hardest criticism of his run so far would be how Sinestro has been treated. You know,
he's been brought down a number of pegs, right? You know,
chump,
here was somebody who was bringing the DCU to his knee to its knees, and now
chump.
he's just kind of yeah, like you said, a chump. He doesn't carry the gravitas or the power to do things. He's just another bad guy at this point.
This is the Sinestro I remember. You know, I miss this man. I'm gonna put you back here since you're sad now. Maybe we'll see your likes again someday
Maybe
soon.
maybe someday soon. Daniel, thank you
Daniel,
so much.
yeah, first time commenter too. That's kind of
Yep,
cool.
yep. And Daniel and I have interacted on Facebook a number of times, and he's a good guy. But
Cool.
have a good one, and we will check in with our next message from our power ring.
The next message is from Brian, who is asking about Blackest Night. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1.
Hey Myron, any chance of you and Phil doing an episode on Blackest Night 0 to 8? Would love a deep dive from you guys on that story. I'm curious, with Phil's disliking of Batman, do you like Nightwing or all things Batman related are a no-go for you? While I also don't care for Batman, I do kind of like Nightwing.
Hey, Brian, thanks for contacting us. Blackest Night 0 to 8. We haven't talked about Blackest Night since JL May. Back in 2019, there was an event. They basically, a bunch of podcasters got together and covered Blackest Night. And we did it. I think we did Blackest Night 0 and maybe issue 1. And then people did different things. I'll put a link to that in the show notes if you want to go back and listen to it. But Phil and I, yeah, we have not done an entire Blackest Night thing. And maybe that's something we should do. We should do a Blackest Night deep dive. I think that would be kind of cool. And the next one, Phil, is really right for you about your dislike of Batman.
Oh,
You,
Brian,
you you kind of talked about it a little bit.
Brian. Look, I don't like Batman. I don't like anything that has. if there's a character I like in the Batman universe, uh, any of them, I'm just gonna pick random. Maybe Mr. Freeze. I mean, I think he's kind of cool. Uh, but I don't know. I just don't. I've never been a fan of anything. The movies I dig, you know, and I'm not that fan that cares who did the better Batman. I really don't care about none of that nonsense. I think they each did reasonably well. I'll even say Affleck did a pretty good job for that version, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I think all the Batmans have done. I've even seen the newer ones with the guy from Twilight. I think that I don't know.
Oh,
I don't
the Batman, yeah.
the Batman, right? Now, I don't remember watching it, but I will say that I do enjoy the movies. I don't read the books. I don't care enough about them to read the books, and I don't need any more depth about them than what I've gotten from media and the doses that DC likes to inject into my arm every week. There's a issue of Batman that comes out, or subsequently one of his characters in his universe.
If I could find the picture, I'm gonna go digging for this picture. But back in the Batman '89 era, I had the Batman costume with the rubber cowl and the whole thing. Somewhere there's a picture of me wearing that outfit. If I can find that, I'm gonna
I
I'm gonna
gotta
show it.
see.
But I really enjoyed the Batman the animated series. I don't know if you ever watched it, Phil,
That
but
was cool.
you
Only
know.
because I like the Superman one that followed. But yeah, that
Yeah.
was
Oh
cool.
yeah. I love the Superman
Yeah.
one that followed. Um, and I think Mr. Freeze, that was really where he got a lot of great character development. His
Mhm.
story in that animated series was great. I always had a kind of an enjoyment of Batman. I for a while read Batman pretty heavily. Uh, but I just kind of fell out of love with it again because it was oversaturation. It made me fall out of love with the character. I felt the same way with Spider-Man. I read Spider-Man for a long, long time. And I eventually got to a point where there were so many books I couldn't keep up with it all, and it just soured me on it. But what about Nightwing? Do you like Nightwing at all? That was one of the things that
No,
Brian mentioned.
no,
No, I
no.
kind of like the progression of Nightwing. My problem with some of that stuff is, and that's the same problem I had with Legacy. How old is Bruce Wayne to have had Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, and he's up to what, four Robins? You got Tim, you got Damian. I mean,
And who are you asking?
that's right. I should. Boy, I didn't read the room,
Hold
did
on.
I?
Yeah, let me. How many Robins are there now? I don't know. How many Batman books we got now?
But
About 100.
how old is Batman? He's had gone through that many Robins, right? Uh,
There's been a lot of Robins. I don't. Hey, what about? Wait a minute. You said Tim Drake,
Tim Drake,
and then you said Jason Todd.
Jason Todd,
Well,
Dick
Jason Todd
Grayson,
becomes
Red Hood,
Red Hood, right? Who becomes Nightwing?
Dick Grayson.
Dick Grayson. He was Robin. So
Yeah,
Tim Drake. I thought something happened to Tim Drake. I don't know. Somebody's gonna have to
he
tell me.
became Red Robin for a while. I think they wanted to move him off the stage because they wanted to do something with Damian and go down that whole road. I don't know. That's what time I jumped off is right in that era. Is I just felt like,
Well,
oh,
I just
this is
always
getting way too
remember
much.
Dick Grayson as being Robin, and that's pretty much it for me. The other stuff is all just chin music for me because it's like, all right, I can't. You hear it in the when you follow enough comic books, you hear people talking about different realms of the comic book universe. So people talk about Batman this. It's like you hear about how Batman broke his back then. You know what I mean? Or you can, and not only that, you read a title, you kind of knew what was going on in the other books because it kind of tied. They kind of tied. They sometimes crossed over a lot. So
Yeah.
you don't do that so much these days. So you don't really. I don't care what's going on in Batman's book. I wish he wasn't going to appear in Green Lantern number 30 coming out pretty soon, but whatever. Here we are. Thanks,
Oh,
Brian. You jinxed.
Brian, you just got Phil's blood pressure up.
Ho ho ho. No, in all fairness, whatever. It is what it is. People like their Batman. I love my wife and she likes Batman, but I still love her. I have to.
Brian, thanks for the opportunity to get another Batman thing going.
Right on, Brian. Have a
All
good
right.
Christmas and a Happy New Year.
All right, Power, and give us the next one.
The next message is from JP Roca. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1.
Great video. After all my comments, I want to restate that I'm grateful for Adam's run.
Hey JP, yeah. After the number of messages you've had on the show, you get the impression you really hate the run, right? But I get the criticism of it and understand it completely. And I, like you, I'm in it for the long haul. So, but I needed to make sure to post this comment, even though it doesn't really ask a question or anything, just because I wanted to make sure that people saw that you're not all like negative against it and stuff. Uh, Powering, go ahead and give us the next one.
The next message is from 3 Rick 527. He has some feedback about the upcoming Green Lantern 600th issue and the current state of Green Lantern comics. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1.
I really wouldn't be surprised if Green Lantern 600 in March is Hal finally proposing to Carol. Don't see a wedding happening too soon, but ever since Jeremy took over, I had a feeling that was the path he was going to take Hal and Carol down, and I'm all for it. Just so long as we don't get a Batman-Catwoman situation where someone gets left at the altar. Also, we know nothing in comics lasts, but I would hate it if the next writer came along and just had them break up again for drama's sake. Also, I'm so confused on what's going on in Green Lantern Corps. I prefer him this way, but when did Sinestro go back to yellow? Also, where the hell did Indigo 1 come from? Last I remember seeing the Indigo tribe, they betrayed the Corps. So when did they get back on good terms? Also, how is Ellie even still around with the other John gone? And why did she get a blue ring? So many questions that I feel like we won't get answered. And now, Kelly is a full-on Green Lantern, but she was never actually chosen, so why does she get a ring? I was really excited the Green Lantern Corps was getting a book again, but it's been nothing but a letdown since it started.
Rick, thanks for contacting us. I agree with you. I think it's too much to rush. I mean, this issue was 596. So in 4 issues, I can't see Hal getting engaged and married, although it would surprise me if their kind of marriage is one of those spur of the moment things. What I'm wondering more is if they do get married, if Hal and Carol finally tie the knot, is it going to be as Hal and Carol or is it going to be as Green Lantern and Star Sapphire? How's the wedding going to go? Are they going to have like a Green Lantern Corps wedding out in space? Or are they going to have an earthly wedding? Those are the things I'm interested in seeing how that plays out. I hope like you that we don't get a Batman Catwoman situation where somebody gets jilted. If we're gonna have all this build up, if you're gonna let us down, remember how that played out. I don't want to see the same thing there. And
We already had the jilted lover. He
yeah,
went to
that was Nathan.
Dodo and Starbreaker.
See, this will be what happens. Carol leaves Hal at the altar, and then it becomes Hal and Nathan as a team up.
Or Carol leaves Hal at the altar for Nathan because he comes back from the dead, and then he makes her Sorrow Sapphire. There you go. And they try to defeat Hal, and then Hal has to fight back and win her love.
Rick's comments about Sinestro and the Indigo tribe was what I was alluding to earlier. And it's funny that Sinestro getting his yellow ring back was not important enough to get any panel time. We saw in the conclusion of the Starbreaker Supremacy, he was still a Green Lantern, and the next time he shows up, he's a Yellow Lantern. So him getting a ring didn't warrant anything happening on the printed page, which, as we spoke about earlier, that's the downfall of Sinestro as an important character in Green Lantern mythology. Just seems to be on a downswing. And that goes back to letting the story breathe. That should have been an epic moment. I mean, we got Razor getting his Red Lantern ring back, right? That warranted a panel or two.
Yeah, Aya coming back.
Yeah, but Sinestro going back to yellow, nothing. And there's no Soronik Natu in those moments either.
I think
missed
in the
opportunity.
background, I think Saronic Natu gave it to him. At least that's what I'm going to tell myself. Own headcanon.
That's our headcanon, right? Right. And Indigo Tribe, they showed up out of the blue. We didn't see them in any of those other sequences. And again, the only thing I could do in terms of headcanon was they were in the science cells that eventually, whatever you remember during Godhead, they kind of double crossed the Green Lantern Corps back during the Vendetta era. Hadn't really seen much of them since. That maybe they got caught and brought in during all this stuff that was going on with the Starbreaker Supremacy, but it didn't warrant anything. That goes back to that whole problem we have with lack of, I don't want to say lack of continuity, but disregarding the importance of things. Hey, I want to use these characters, but I don't know what happened to them in the past, so I'm not going to follow up and tie those threads together.
And there's nothing more annoying than shoehorning people in just to do that, just to move a story along, especially when you don't have any knowledge of where they came from.
Right, right. I'm
That's
assuming they were in
annoying.
the science cells, but we don't know. You know, it didn't warrant any panel time. So it's interesting. And his comment about, well, how did Ellie stick around with John gone? I'm assuming that she stuck around because John really wasn't gone. Just one of the Johns was gone. That's what I'm telling myself. How did she justify getting a blue ring? I couldn't tell you. You would, who knows what's going on? And the same thing with Kelly. I just think it's actually crazy that we've got her now with a power ring and she's continuing to be an ongoing character. Wait, when does it stop, right? I know at one point over in the Facebook group, somebody was commenting that why isn't there an Asian Green Lantern? And somebody pointed out the what was the name of that book? It was a young adult novel. They did
Jade's
two of
there was
them.
Jade something. Wait a minute. Wasn't there a three-part Green Lantern that had an
There was
Asian?
there was an Elseworlds that was
That
a
was the
it
Elseworlds,
was
yeah.
it ended up being an Elseworlds, but there was a two book young adult thing. It was Green Lantern Legacy, if I
I
recall.
remember that. Yeah, you're right.
Um, there was that character, but then they were like, well, that isn't in continuity, and again, it's stereotypical depictions of Asians, even though it was written by an Asian author. And I'm like, do we have to make a Green Lantern of every pick pick demographic category here? Um,
Well, I mean, I think that kind of defeats the purpose of a. Uh, and here's where I'd be curious to see what the fandom's thought is on this, right? You if you're going to come up across representation, right, and you have a Green Lantern Corps that's built from alien races across how many known universes, how are you in your right mind? Are you going to be a fan and get PO'd because they don't have a Nigerian Green Lantern on your Corps, or
right,
doesn't matter. My point, I'm not trying to use that I'm just using it as an example, but like you you already got a problem with your Earth lanterns as it is. You don't need to start diluting it by the fact that you want representation across the board. I mean, John Stewart is just now starting to get more representation as an African American Green Lantern because he's a top tier character. And look how long that took him for
right.
crying out loud.
Well,
They squandered that for how many years? Put
and
him in an animated series. You could have made a movie about that dude a long time ago and done stuff with him. But
you've got situations where they didn't choose to use John because if they use Jessica, they get a person of color who's also a woman. Hey, we can check off two
right.
boxes, right?
Or
Um,
Joe Mullane, right? You said
Joe,
Jessica.
well,
Or
Jessica,
Jessica. Yeah.
yeah, right, right. Well, and now you've got Kelly. So I don't know. It just
That's a diluted pool that I don't want to get into a
it's
big dialect about, man. It's
yeah,
kind of
but it's
ridiculous.
but it's already so diluted, and we've gotten away from what made the Green Lantern Corps concept so interesting, and it was the fact that you had this age-old group of I don't want to use cops because I don't like the space cop thing, but space knights or sheriffs or whatever you want to call it, and that a human was finally chosen to be a part of it, and that was what was so cool about it. It's part of what makes Guardians of the Galaxy so interesting. You've got Peter Quill thrown in with all these really cool aliens, and you see us participating in the galactic stage. It's the same thing, but if now I've got to give page time to 8 different Earth Lanterns. Where do these cool alien characters get any panel time? We don't have enough
Well,
books to
do
give
you,
them
do
all
you
their
think
own book.
do you think it has to do with the fact that like for so often, if you think about how if you just had one Earth character in with a big old group of aliens, all right, and they've always made that. I mean, you think back to Buck Rogers and characters like that, or Flash Gordon. Now, granted, they've been the hero, but they've also been kind of the brunt of the joke because they were Earthlings,
Right,
and
right,
Earthlings are looked down upon by alien races, right? But now all of a sudden you're going to counter that by saying, well, let's make about 10 Earth Green Lantern so we can counter the effect of how Earth looks in the eyes of all the aliens. Well, that takes away your whole dreamscape of what you just said
Mhm.
about, well, the uniqueness of it was because no Earth Lantern was picked to be a Green Lantern before, right?
Right.
Because of the concept of they had a lot of fallacies, they had a lot of problems, and that reflected very well in the writing with Hal Jordan during those time frames, when you did that.
Well, and the whole point to the lore was there's only one person who's strong enough to be that character. But now, well, anybody can be that character.
Right.
So you,
And the ring chose you, right? The ring chose you because of your willpower
yeah,
or your ability to overcome.
right, right. So it just, I realized they came up with this whole story about because Earth's got so many problems. Well, you know what? Earth also has the largest metahuman community in the galaxy too. So they don't need a, to me, the whole franchise started going down. This is going to be a controversial take. To me, the whole franchise started down that wrong road the minute they created Guy Gardner and chose to bring him back and pretend that he was Hal's backup, which he never was. But they did that because they needed a reason to have John become a Green Lantern. The minute they did that, that was the beginning of the downfall because we just started down this road where now it's DC and Warner Brothers. Oh, well, I want to appeal to this demographic. Okay, I know what we make him a power. Make him either a speedster or we'll give him a power ring. That's what they do.
Right. Because it's like putting lipstick on a platypus, right? You think it's just gonna fly very well, but
Right.
man, it's just lazy.
It
That's
is.
lazy.
It's extremely lazy. But anyway, we digress.
We are. Go to our
Uh,
last listener.
I agree with you about the Green Lantern Corps book not being so hot. It's only a couple issues in Morgan Hampton's run. I want to see what happens, but I don't have high hopes. But I'm not giving up on it yet. All right,
I
Power Ring. We have one more message. Why don't you go ahead and play it?
The next message is from Soda Jerk Classic. He wants to know about your favorite comic book characters. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1.
Who are you guys' favorite heroes besides Green Lantern Hal Jordan, and I am talking non-lanterns? Maybe you can do a video about it someday. I'm a big fan of your podcast and greatly enjoy comic lore in general. And lantern lore is something truly deep, if not fascinating. Just to be inclusive, my favorite heroes are Batman. Yes, him, despite his appearances becoming exhaustingly dull. Thor, Captain America, and Hawkeye. Those are my mainstays, though I have a lot of honorable mentions.
All right. Soda Jerk Classic. That's an interesting. So he specifies heroes, right?
Mhm.
That's not Green Lantern, Hal Jordan. And, I mean, Cyborg Superman, but he's not really a hero. But if I had to pick a hero, I guess Aquaman and Wonder Woman. I mean, those have always been my other two and the Flash. I've always liked the Flash, but
Yeah, I've always been a fan of the Flash. And I mentioned Spider-Man and Batman earlier. Don't hurt me. Um, Spider-Man and Batman. I also read Superman. It's funny because I kind of I go through phases when it comes to heroes. Hal has been the one continuous all the way through,
mhm.
but there have been periods of time when it was Batman was my secondary, or it was Spider-Man, it was Superman for a while, it was the X-Men for a while, it was Captain America for a short period of time. There was a phase when I really liked the Fantastic Four, and there was another phase when I was really into Doctor Strange. But Hal's been the one persistent all the way through. As a youngster, I felt like I resonated with Peter Parker, but I aspired to be Hal, if that makes sense. Uh, but
And
uh,
to double down on what you said, like the constants I've always had Superman, and Hal. And I think the only time, I mean, there's only been a couple times in my past where I stopped reading it. One with Superman was during the Bendis run, and I think a lot of people felt the same way. And the Hal Jordan stuff, I didn't really take a break from Green Lantern. I just kind of kept on going through, and I didn't really start reading Green Lantern hard until probably your late '80s. So you're talking at the crux of when Kyle Rayner was coming on the scene. You know, but yeah, those two have always been my constants.
it's interesting. my comic book reading, it's dropped a bit in recent years, but I'm finding myself reading more non-superhero comics.
Me too.
Um,
Me too. A
I've
lot.
been going back. I've been going back and collecting the old EC horror comics, reading some of the older books, but not necessarily superhero books. A lot of the old horror comics. Was really getting into Geiger and that whole series of books. Geiger and what's the other guy? I want to say Red Jacket. I know that's not right. Um,
They're gonna be that British one or whatever.
the British guy. I stopped reading it. That tells you where I'm at with it. But it was a lot of those Mad uh,
Hmm.
Ghost production books. I was really getting into those for a while. I love Mouse Guard. I reread Mouse Guard at least once a year. I was a big fan of that. So I've been reading more of that kind of stuff than superhero books. And really my superhero books have been about Green Lantern pretty much exclusively. For a period of time, I was reading probably most of DC's catalog.
Yeah,
Um,
I was the same way.
yeah. Because the universe felt so connected. It felt like you were looking in, peeking in on different facets of the same universe. And I just, at one point, it lost its connectivity, and I just never went back. I mean, I was reading everything from Secret Six to Batman to Nightwing to Green Arrow to everything. But that those days are long gone.
Same. I don't have time for it anymore. Hey, thanks, Soda Jerk Classic. That's really cool.
Yeah, and maybe, I sometimes hesitate to do other stuff on this show because it's so Green Lantern centric, and that's the theme of it. And I'm like, you didn't pay, but you've come for the Green Lantern content. I feel like I want to deliver the Green Lantern content. I don't want to start doing a bunch of other stuff. But maybe sometime we do a show where we talk about what are other books that we've really enjoyed, like our top 5 non-Green Lantern books that we like the most, from history, that kind of thing. Maybe we'll
Okay.
do some of that
Okay.
stuff.
That'd be cool.
But all right, well, I appreciate everybody taking their time out to make us a part of your Green Lantern fan experience, and B, taking time out to just send us some comments or leave a comment on a video or a question or what have you. It's important to us to acknowledge what you guys are doing and your guys' contributions. Power Ring, why don't you tell people how they can be a part of the show, and we'll come back and we'll wrap things up.
You can become a part of the show by leaving a message up to 1 minute long on our voicemail line. Call us at 406-POD-OA. That's 406-763-6362. You can also email us at podcast@blogofoa.com. We'd love to hear from you.
What up, dweebs? This is Guy Gardner. You're listening to the podcast of OA.
All right, fellow Owens, welcome back. That was a fun episode. I'm honestly not sure if I'm looking forward to the next issue of Green Lantern 30. There might be I might shade myself out, and muffle my voice.
It's going to come out right around Christmas, and it's going to be the coal in your stocking.
Oh, terrible. Well, for the record now, I do leave on the 23rd, and I won't be back until the 31st. So if we're going to record again, we got to do it before
You'll
that.
do anything to avoid reading that issue, right?
I'll do anything that includes going to Hawaii and surfing and making sure it's not a Batman board.
We'll have to make sure to get an episode recorded before you leave, so we've got one to release while you're gone.
That'd be cool. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
All right. Well, friends, thank you again for joining us and listening to our rantings and ravings of two old comic book guys. But we'll be back soon with some more content. Going to reach out again, try to get Jeremy Adams on before the end of the year. That would be nice. If not, that will be our 2026 will be the year of interviews, because we've got a couple other ones to do too. Till next time, treat each other well, keep that power ring charged, and make every day your brightest day. Take care. Thanks so much for watching this Green Lantern video from the blog of OA. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find even more great Green Lantern videos, reviews, podcasts, and more at our main website, www.blogofoa.com. So until next time, keep your power ring charged and make every day your brightest day.